the two generations, this is a whole new generation for this franchise in a sense and character. I was wondering if both of you would have thought, like, what would Chevy's Fletch think of Jon's Fletch? Like, I was just thinking that while watching this, like, what would they say to each other if they came together? Any thoughts on that?
That's a very good question. I almost.
Stupid idiot moron has something to do with this.
You want me on the outside so I can solve this thing.
Are you Fletcher?
Yes, I am. Oh! I mean, no, I'm not. I always get that wrong.
It's Jim Alexander with Real Talker right up there.
Nice. I like it.
You guys like the neon or the wrestler girl behind?
I was going to say, is that Sheena?
No, that's Mandy Rose. She's a WWE wrestler, and she signed that cardboard for me. So, guys, I had it in the bedroom. I'm a single guy. It was not working out, so I had to move her to the living room.
I think, yeah, maybe the garage.
Wish I had one, but she covers the cables, so it's all
fair
good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
She covers the cables, if you know what I mean.
Jon, here's the thing. Like, Fletch could have used a lot of help. This was in Boston. There's a guy there that was chasing Dougie McRae, okay, that had a no screwing around crew, okay? That dude would have solved every case, the baddest FBI agent on the planet, okay? So how did they not come together at some point or get some help there?
That's a good question. I don't know if the Fletch and the town universes could collide, but yeah, I think tonally they might be a little discordant, but yeah. I love shooting in Boston. To get to, to answer your question, really, we shot this movie in the summer in Boston, which was beautiful, and Boston is an amazing place to shoot. We shot the town in the fall, which is another very beautiful time to shoot in Boston, and this is our second movie we shot in Boston. We shot Clear History in Boston as well. So we, Greg and I have a good history with Boston filmmaking.
Yeah, and it was, and everyone was so sick of the pandemic that every location we went to, they were just welcoming us. They just wanted to see humans,
human beings. Yeah,
yeah. They didn't mind that it was crew people who were going to, damage their floors.
I'm interested too about this. I got introduced to Fletch the first time actually a few years ago. I'm in my mid-30s, but I didn't get around to it initially. It was on a date too. A girl turned on Fletch for me. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but okay, I'll go with it. And that was my introduction to a character. The two generations, this is a whole new generation for this franchise in a sense and character. I was wondering if both of you would have thought, like, what would Chevy's Fletch think of Jon's Fletch? Like, I was just thinking that while watching this, like, what would they say to each other if they came together? Any thoughts on that?
That's a very good question. I'd like to think there would be some sort of grudging understanding and respect, although you never know. I think that you're correct in saying that it's a generational shift. Obviously, when you look at the first film, there's a lot of DNA from the 80s. It's got a very synth-heavy Harold Faltermeyer score, and the comedy is very slapstick, and it's very kind of hyper-real, and that's all of the things that we love about that movie are very of the 80s, and we're not in the 80s anymore. That was 40 years ago. So I mean, that's a hard tonal thing to grasp without it becoming parody, really. So what the challenge that Greg and I had, which I think we really leaned into, was come up with a new version of this. And how do you do that? You go back to the source, you go back to the books. And the books have a very kind of still just left of center, skewed a little bit sense of humor, but very much less of that 80s hyper-real slapstick, wigs and teeth and funny voices and all that stuff. So we were able to kind of find our own way, and I think that both ways are very they're parallel tracks, and they're both iterations of a character that exists in this in book form in the 70s and 80s as well. So we were happy to be able to get to do our own thing.
Yep. And today, I asked that too, because with the thought of like everything's a multiverse, Spider-Mans are meeting each other and all these things, so it's like people might want this to happen at some point if we continue with this.
I'm sure some internet, internet genius will cut together two versions of this somehow.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see more of this. Greg, let's do this franchise thing, huh?
I would love that. I love detective movies. I love working with John. I was so excited to have John at the center of a comedy. Being a big fan of his comedic work, I still think his character from Kimmy Schmidt should have his own series and possibly 3 or 4 hour movie. Yeah, I would love to do more of these. When John told me about it, I went off and read a bunch of the books. I love them. I love the tone of them and Gregory McDonald's writing. And he writes so much in dialogue, so it makes adapting a dream because it's just giving you free, great dialogue.
There you go. Well, we're out of time, but this was a pleasure. John, The Town's my favorite movie of all time. I'm glad to finally talk to you.
Thank you. Nice talking
Thanks.
with you.
That's a great movie.
Take care, boys.
I don't know who people hate more, cops or reporters.
It's cops.